Hello, everybody. Today, I want to talk about 5 important economic problems and their solutions. In our group, we only have 4 members: 日文仪的颜月荣、英数仪张元君、欧西的梁一起跟龚行一的陈兆琪. So someone in our group needs to afford one more question, and that person is me. In the first beginning, we divided 1 to 5 questions into 5 different topics. Tariff, Pigouvian tax, perfectly competitive market, market in short or long run, and natural monopoly. So move on to the first question. It's about the tariff question, and the speaker is me, 日文译的颜月荣. Question. After China's entry into WTO in 2001, US became the major importer of Chinese products in the end of 2018. President Trump ordered the imposition of tariffs on Chinese products. Nearly all economists who responded to the surveys conducted by the Associated Press and Reuters said Trump's tariffs would do more harm than good to the American economy. So, if the USA became the importer of Chinese products under WTO's free trade agreement, the situation will become like this. Since the price of domestics is higher than the price of world, American imports the quantity of goods in this blue triangle. Next, how President Trump's tariffs policy would affect USA's import of Chinese products. As we can see, before tariff, the import of Chinese products would be the range of E plus F plus G plus H. However, after tariff, there only left part E. So, according to this, should I agree with those economists? As we know that before tariff, the consumer surplus is A plus B plus C plus E plus F plus G plus H, and the producer surplus is part D. There is no government revenue and there were loss. Nevertheless, after tariff, the consumer surplus is A plus B plus E, and the producer surplus is C plus D. The government revenue increased by G, and F and H became their loss. So, according to this, I agree with those economists that the policy is do more harm than good.
Now I'm going to talk about the question 2, Pigouvian tax. Question A. A socially harmful or negative externality definition. I think it occurs when the production or consumption of a good or service has a negative impact on the third party that is not directly involved in the transaction. In other words, the cost associated with the production or consumption of the good are not fully borne by the producer or consumer, but are instead passed on to others in the form of negative effects. This leads to an inefficient allocation of resources and can result in the suboptimal level of production or consumption from the perspective of society as a whole. As I think, pollution from industrial production is a good example of a socially harmful externality. When a factory emits pollutants into the air or water as a byproduct of its production process, it can be harm the health and well-being of the people living in the surrounding area. These negative effects, such as respiratory problems and contaminated water sources, represent external costs that are not reflected in the price of the goods produced by the factory. As a result, the market may overproduce goods that generate pollution because the true social costs are not accounted for in the price, leading to a socially inefficient outcome. To address such externality, governments often intervene through regulations, taxes, or other policy measures to internalize the external cost and encourage more socially responsible behavior. Now, let's talk about the question B. How Pygovian taxes shift the cost from society to the producer of least socially harmful externality. Let's see the graph. At point A, the market is efficient. The supply meets demand. The market is not socially efficient, however, because the cost to others is not accounted for. To compensate for the negative effects of an externality, a tax is imposed, raising the price from P1 to P2. The implementation of the tax and the subsequent rise in the price to the consumer reduces the quantity demanded from Q1 to Q2. The tax reduces the demand for electricity, reducing the overall emissions, and the revenue generated can be used to remediate environmental damage or invest in cleaner generation technologies. At point A, the market is socially efficient as the external cost to others have been internalized using the tax. This eliminates the deadweight lost in the market. An obstacle must be overcome when deciding the proper amount of tax to apply to an activity. Before a government issues a tax, it must determine the level of external cost it imposes. It is easier to assess some cost than it is others. For example, the cost of performing a lung replacement for a long-time smoker is relatively similar across healthcare systems, whereas assessing the true cost of the pollution in the environment can be very difficult. The problem of incomplete information means that the true size of the tax cannot be determined. This creates a lag on the legislation of a carbon tax which dates the process of mitigation and the remediation of the damage caused by pollutions. Next, let's see the question C. Why Pagavian taxes discourage behaviors that create these negative externality. Pagavian taxes are designed to discourage behavior that creates negative externalities by internalizing the external costs associated with those behaviors. The concept is based on the idea that when individuals or business engage in activities that generate negative externalities, such as pollution, as said before, the true cost of those activities is not fully reflected in market price. Pygovian taxes aim to correct this market failure by imposing the tax equal to the external cost of the negative externality. In the graph, we can know that the initial equilibrium price, E0, is much lower than the price after tax, E1, and the quantity will go down to from Q0 to Q1. That will make consumer need to pay more money on less goods and the producer need to pay tax to the government and make less money. So we can see that if producer and the consumer do not want to afford the Pygovian tax, they would try to reduce the negative externality to the society. Last, let's see the question D. Explain why Pygovian taxes can also create more efficiency in the economy. We can see the graph on the left-hand side. The pink one that were lost is in the market, but after the Pygovian tax, we can see the gray parts that were lost on the right-hand side graph. It's individualized. So Pygovian taxes can contribute to greater economic efficiency because they address market failures associated with negative externality. When the external cost of certain activities are not internalized in the market price, there is a misallocation of resources, leading to an inefficient outcome. The imposition of Pygovian taxes helps correct this market failure. And here's how it promotes efficiency.
Hello, it's me again. Let me introduce the third topic, perfectly competitive market. First, we can see this chart. The red portion is the answer of part A. The total cost is the average total cost times quantity equals 4,400. Average variable cost is total variable cost divided by quantity equals 1.8. The total fixed cost is total cost minus total variable cost equals 800. Average fixed cost is total fixed cost divided by quantity equals 0.4. And price is total revenue divided by quantity equals 2. Then, if a perfectly competitive firm currently faces conditions shown in the chart, at this current level of production, the average variable cost of the firm is minimized, suggesting that its marginal cost equals its average variable cost. Is the firm maximizing its profit? Our answer is no, because the firm maximizing its profit at the point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost equals price. But in this case, marginal cost equals average variable cost is still higher than the price. So the firm doesn't maximize its profit. And in the short run, the firm doesn't need to shut down, since the price is higher than average variable cost, and we think fixed cost as the sunk cost.
Hello, my name is Liang Yiqi, and I am a freshman from the Department of European Languages and Cultures. Question 4 focuses on the different cases when the market is in the short run and in the long run. And here's the question. Barrick Gold owns the Bulyanhulu mine in Tanzania and the Kalgoorlie mine in Australia. Table 2 reports information on selling prices and costs for the two mines. Barrick's selling price of gold differs from the spot price as some production is sold through long-term contract and also owing to the company's use of hedging. The average cash cost, which is average variable cost, includes operating cost, royalties, and taxes, while the average cost includes the cash cost as well as amortization. And this is table 2. Question 8. Suppose that the Bulyanhulu mine always produces at a scale where its marginal cost equals the selling price of gold. Its marginal cost curve, however, shifts with changes in electricity prices, wages, and other factors. Using the data from Table 2, illustrate the shifts in Bulyanhulu's marginal cost curve, the selling price and profit maximizing scale of production between 2002 and 2004. So in our question, it stated that the marginal cost equals the selling price of gold, which indicates that marginal cost equals price. This also explains one thing. Under this assumption, Bulyanhulu mine is in perfect competition, and that's because in perfect competition, price equal to marginal cost is the equilibrium condition where the firms maximize their profits earned. At this point, price equals marginal cost and average total cost of producing one good. This information also helps us to draw a graph to illustrate this question. Now, we're going to find out the shifts in Bulyanhulu's MC curve, the selling price and profit maximizing scale of production between 2002 and 2004. First, we have the price on the y-axis and the quantity on the x-axis. Then we have to plot the point of the production and the corresponding price, and draw the MC curve through the point. Let's start from 2002. So the price in 2002 is 339. It's right here. And the quantity is 356. So we have a point right here, and we can draw a MC curve through the point, like this. And for 2003 and 2004, it's the same. The price in 2003 is 366 and the quantity is 314. So it's right here. And in 2004, its price is 3,091 and the production is 350. Now we draw all the three lines. And we can notice how the shifts change. From 2002 to 2003, it shifts to the left. And from 2003 to 2004, it shifts to the right. And for the selling price, in 2002, the selling price was right here. It was at 339. And in 2003, it's 366. And in 2004, it's 391 right here. So the selling price goes up from 2002 to 2003. And it also increases from 2003 to 2004. And finally, we have to find the profit maximizing scale of production between 2002 and 2004. To find profit maximizing scale of production, we will first find a point where price equals marginal cost and average total cost of producing one product. And the point is the lowest point of the ATC curve. For example, in 2002, we plot the point right here. And MC crosses ATC at the minimum of ATC. So the ATC curve goes like this. And same for the 2003 and 2004. The ATC for 2003 goes like this. And in 2004, it goes like this. And this is where we can find the profit maximizing scale of production. And we can notice how it increases from 2002 to 2003. And it also increases from 2003 to 2004. Question B. In 2003, Barrick continued to produce from the Bulyanhulu mine even though the selling price of gold, $366 per ounce, was less than its average production cost of $369 per ounce. Was this a mistake? Our answer is no. And why was the reason? We can start by thinking the question that, why do companies continue production even when the selling price is less than the average production cost? And the first reason is that fixed cost. If a significant portion of the cost is fixed and doesn't vary with the quantity of production, it might be more cost-effective to continue production despite the selling price is below the average cost. This is because fixed costs are considered to be sunk cost, and the firm must pay them whether they produce output or not. The second reason is long-term considerations. Companies might consider short-term losses for long-term gains. They might decide to continue production even at a loss in the short term, expecting that market conditions or gold prices will improve in the future. And the third reason is market share and contracts. Companies may have contracts or commitments that require them to continue production even during periods of unfavorable pricing. And the fourth reason is hedging. If the company has hedged its gold production, it might have locked in prices that are higher than the current market price. In such cases, the impact of the current market price may be alleviated by the hedging strategy. Remember when the question said Barrick's selling price of gold differs from the spot price as some production is sold through long-term contract and also owing to the company's use of hedging. Based on these reasons, it was not a mistake that the company continued producing. Question C. Use Barrick's 2004 data to compare the short-run break-even conditions for Bulyanhulu and Kalgoorlie, and the long-run break-even conditions for the two mines. So here's the graph we draw. For short-run break-even conditions for Bulyanhulu and Kalgoorlie. So now we can see both the point right here is short-run break-even, and right here is where the total revenue equals total variable costs. And this is the long-run break-even conditions for Bulyanhulu and Kalgoorlie. And this is the point where long-run break-even. And at this point, total revenue equals total cost. And this is the short run and long run comparison. Because in the short run, the fixed cost is not considered, while in the long run, the fixed cost is considered. Therefore, the price in the long run break-even will be higher. So we can see that the price in short run for both countries are lower than the price in the long run.
Question number 5, we are going to talk about the natural monopoly. An electricity company is a classic example of natural monopoly. Taipower Company has been a monopoly in selling electricity to Taiwanese consumers for 70 years. Taiwan recently passed an amendment to its Electricity Act that now allows the other suppliers of traditional energy to sell electricity directly to consumers, effectively ending Taipower's 70 years of sector monopoly. Let's start with the question A. What's the definition of natural monopoly? In the diagram, draw average cost curve, average variable cost curve, and marginal cost curve for a natural monopoly. What's a natural monopoly? A natural monopoly is a type of the monopoly that arises due to unique circumstances, where high start-off costs and significant economies of scale leads to only one firm being able to efficiently provide the service in a certain territory. A company with a natural monopoly might be a only provider providing products or services in an industry or geographic location. Natural monopolies are allowed when a single company can supply a product or service at a lower cost than any potential competitor, but are often heavily regulated to protect consumers. Look at the diagram. There are two cost curves. The average total cost and the average variable cost. Average variable cost is below the average total cost. The upward sloping curve is marginal cost. Marginal cost and average total cost intersect at the price P, where average total cost is lowest. Let's talk about the question B. Why is an electric company such as Taipower Company a natural monopoly? Once the power grid construction is completed, the marginal cost of serving users will decrease as the number of users increases, which will disadvantage competitors' investment. Therefore, the electric power industry naturally formed a monopoly. In this case, Type R company has two advantages. One is a first mover advantage. The other is that it has a large amount of capital. Due to this advantage, other companies have difficulties to enter the market and compete with Type R. Therefore, Type R become the natural monopoly. Let's move on to question C. Use a diagram including various cost curve, market demand curve faced by Type R, and Type R's marginal revenue curve to show how Type R chooses its optimal quantity of output and price. Added two extra downward sloping straight line based on the previous diagram. We got the diagram which shows Type R monopoly. The two added curves are marginal revenue and demand curve. Marginal revenue is below the market demand curve. The firm produced at optimum quantity Q1, where marginal cost and marginal revenue intersect, and charge at price P1, where demand curve at quantity Q1. No matter in the short run or in the long run, the firm earns profit because there is only one firm in the monopoly market. You can see in the diagram, P1 is higher than the ATC. Here we go, the question D. When other suppliers of traditional energy are allowed to sell electricity directly to Taiwanese consumers, the electricity market in Taiwan becomes perfectly competitive. Use another diagram to show the market equilibrium point for the case of perfect competition. When monopoly turns into perfect competition, there's going to be a supply curve which is horizontal, and the equilibrium is at the point P2 and Q2. Continue to see the last question E. Discuss how electricity price and electricity quantity in Taiwan will be changed as the electricity market in Taiwan will move from monopoly to perfect competition. Graphical and descriptive analysis are required. On the left-hand side, we have the monopoly. Please ignore the horizontal line in the diagram. It's not exist in monopoly. I just drew that for comparison with the perfect competition market. For the correct diagram for monopoly, you can see the question C. On the right-hand side, we can see the perfect competition market. In the diagram, the horizontal line is a supply curve in perfect competition market in the long run. And the supply curve is equal to price equals to average revenue equals to marginal revenue in the perfect competition. The equation transforms P1 Q1 to P2 Q2. When the market turns into perfect competition, average total cost increases. It makes the average total cost curve move upward. The firms won't earn economic profit in the long run, which means the firms earns zero economic profit. Compared to the monopoly, the price gets lower and the quantity gets bigger. This is the end of the questions. Thank you for listening.